The massive council chamber floated in the darkness of space, a structure so large it could be seen from 3 star systems away. Inside, hundreds of alien species gathered in their designated sections, their voices creating a storm of different sounds and languages. The translation devices worked overtime to make sense of the chaos. Captain Minho Park stood at the back of the human section, his military uniform crisp and clean. He watched the arguing aliens with calm eyes, his face showing nothing. Next to him, Commander Hyejin Choi shifted her weight, her hand resting near her datapad. She was recording everything, as always. At the center platform, Ambassador Jiwon Lee sat with her hands folded on the table. She had represented Earth for 5 years now, and she knew how these meetings went. The elder species talked and talked, making decisions that took months while problems grew worse. Today was no different, except the problem was much bigger than usual. High Arbiter Voss, the tall leader of the Thalian Empire, raised all 4 of his arms to demand silence. His skin shimmered with colors that showed his annoyance. The chamber slowly grew quiet. The Dravix horde has destroyed 3 more colony worlds, Voss announced, his voice deep and commanding. Millions are dead. Billions more are fleeing. We must respond with force. A representative from the Kelnar species stood up, her feathers ruffling with agitation. We have already sent our fleets. They were crushed in hours. The Dravix are too strong, too many. What can we do? Voss turned to look at the military commanders present. We need a combined fleet. Every species must contribute their best warships. Together we can push them back. Minho watched as various species began arguing about how many ships they could spare, what sectors needed protection, who would lead the fleet. It was the same dance they always did. Meanwhile, people were dying. Ambassador Jiwon stood up. Her simple movement caught attention because humans rarely spoke during these debates. The chamber grew quieter. Earth can contribute, she said clearly. We have ships ready to deploy. We can have them in position within a week. Voss looked down at her, and Minho could see the dismissal in his eyes even from across the room. That is, appreciated, Ambassador Lee. However, your contribution would be minimal. Earth has what, 200 ships? We need thousands. A laugh came from somewhere in the chamber, then another. Soon several species were making sounds that their translators turned into amusement. Jiwon did not change her expression. We can provide more than 200 ships, High Arbiter. Can you provide 1,000? Voss asked, his tone making it clear he thought it was impossible. If needed, yes, Jiwon replied. The laughter grew louder. One of the Thalian military commanders stood up. With respect, Ambassador, we have seen your fleet. Your ships are small, lightly armed. Your species has been part of this council for only 15 years. The elder species have been building their militaries for thousands of years. Minho felt Hyejin tense beside him. He knew she wanted to speak, to defend their capabilities. He touched her arm gently, a signal to wait. Jiwon remained standing, waiting for the laughter to die down. When it finally did, she spoke again, her voice calm and measured. We understand your concerns. However, I must inform this council that Earth has been operating under restraints. Voss leaned forward, genuinely curious now. Restraints? What do you mean? When Earth joined the Galactic Council, we made a decision, Jiwon explained. We studied the other species, learned your cultures, understood your fears. We realized that if we showed our full military capability, many of you would see us as a threat rather than an ally. So we held back. We showed you only what we thought you could accept. The chamber was silent now. Every species was listening. We have been careful to appear harmless, Jiwon continued. We have been polite, peaceful, diplomatic. We have followed every rule, respected every custom. But the situation has changed. The Dravix are killing billions. If you need our help, truly need it, then we are willing to remove those restraints. Boss's skin changed colors rapidly, a sign of confusion or disbelief. You claim to have a hidden military? This is difficult to believe, Ambassador. I am not asking you to believe, Jiwon said. I am warning you. If Earth commits to this war, we will fight the way we know how to fight. It may be disturbing to witness. We wanted to give you notice. Another Thalian commander laughed. Humans are disturbing in combat? You have never even fought in a galactic war. Your species is too soft, too concerned with civilians and rules. That is why you will never be a true military power. Minho saw Jiwon's jaw tighten slightly. It was the only sign that the insult had landed. When she spoke again, her voice was harder. We are concerned with civilians and rules because we learned what happens when we are not, she said. Earth has fought wars that would horrify you. We have done things we are not proud of. We created weapons we had to ban ourselves from using. We nearly destroyed our own world multiple times. That is exactly why we hold back. She looked around the chamber, making eye contact with as many representatives as she could. We are offering to help. But if you accept that help, you need to understand what you are accepting. We will not fight the way you fight. We will fight the way humans fight. And we have spent our entire history learning how to kill each other very, very efficiently. The chamber erupted in noise. Some species were shouting in anger, others in disbelief. Voss was trying to restore order, his forearms waving. Minho's datapad buzzed. He looked down and saw an encrypted message from Earth Command. His eyes scanned the text quickly. Protocol Ares, stand by for deployment authorization. He looked at Hejin and she nodded. She had received the same message. Voss finally got the chamber under control. This council appreciates Earth's enthusiasm, he said, his tone condescending. However, we cannot base our strategy on unverified claims. We will proceed with the forces we know we have. If Earth wishes to contribute its 200 ships to the auxiliary fleet, that would be acceptable. Jiwan sat down slowly. As you wish, High Arbiter. But I have fulfilled my obligation to warn you. What happens next is not our responsibility. The meeting continued, with various species arguing over fleet positions and supply lines. Minho stopped paying attention. He was already running calculations in his head, thinking about ship deployments and crew rotations. 3 hours later, news arrived that changed everything. The Dravix Horde had engaged the Council's primary defense fleet at the Kelvar system. The battle had lasted 40 minutes. The Council fleet had been destroyed almost completely. Over 10,000 ships were gone. Hundreds of thousands of crew members were dead. The Council chamber descended into panic. Species were screaming at each other, blaming each other, demanding answers. Voss looked shaken, his skin pale and flickering. Jiwan stood up again. This time everyone noticed immediately. The chamber fell silent. Earth's offer still stands, she said quietly. But you need to decide now. Do you want our help or not? Because if you do, you need to let us fight our way. No restrictions. No second guessing. You trust us or you do not. Voss looked around the chamber. He looked at the faces of the other species leaders. He looked at the data screen showing the destruction at Kelvar. Then he looked back at Jiwan. What do you need from us? He asked. Just stay out of our way, Jiwan replied. Give us 72 hours. Minho was already walking toward the exit, Hyejin beside him. They had a lot of work to do and not much time to do it. Behind them, the Galactic Council continued to argue. Ahead of them, a war was waiting, and Earth was about to show the galaxy what humanity really looked like when they stopped holding back. The Kelvar system was dying. Debris from destroyed ships floated everywhere, creating a graveyard of metal and bodies. The Galactic Council's last defense fleet huddled near Kelvar Prime, their shields flickering and their weapons running low on ammunition. High Arbiter Voss stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the sensor displays with growing despair. The Dravix fleet surrounded them completely. Over 5,000 enemy ships, all closing in slowly like predators circling wounded prey. His own fleet had less than 300 ships left, and most of those were damaged. How long until the reinforcements arrive? Voss asked his tactical officer. The nearest Council fleet is 6 hours away, sir. We will not last that long. Voss's skin flickered through colors of fear and resignation. He had lived for 200 years, commanded fleets in a dozen conflicts, and never once thought he would die like this. Trapped, surrounded, hopeless. Send a message to all Council members, he said quietly. Tell them we fought with honor. Tell them to remember Kelvar. Before his communications officer could respond, every sensor in the fleet went crazy. Energy readings spiked across multiple spectrums. Space itself seemed to ripple and tear. What is happening? Voss demanded. Quantum ruptures, sir. Multiple jump points opening all around the system. Voss watched in shock as portals began appearing in space. Not small ones, but massive tiers in reality. And through those tiers came ships. Human ships. But not 200 ships. Not even 500. Thousands of ships poured through the jump points, spreading out in precise formations. They were smaller than Council ships, sleeker and darker. They moved with a coordination that seemed impossible. Every ship knowing exactly where to be and when to be there. On the human flagship Indomitable, Fleet Admiral Daehyun Song watched the tactical display with satisfaction. "All Ghost Fleets report ready, Admiral." "Excellent," Daehyun replied. "Open a channel to the Council Fleet." Voss nearly jumped when a human face appeared on his main screen. It was the Admiral he had heard about but never met. The one who supposedly commanded Earth's military. "High Arbiter Voss," Daehyun said calmly. "We received your request for assistance. We are here to help." Voss could only stare. Behind Daehyun, he could see the bridge of a warship far more advanced than anything the Council had shown. Holographic displays showed ship positions, weapon systems, and tactical data, flowing faster than his eyes could follow. "How many ships did you bring?" Voss asked, his voice barely working. 2,347 warships, Daehyun replied. "Plus support craft. I believe this should be sufficient." Captain Minho stood next to Daehyun, watching Voss's reaction. The High Arbiter's skin was cycling through colors so fast it was almost blinding. Shock, fear, confusion, and something that might have been hope, that is. "Impossible," Voss whispered. "You said you had 200 ships." "We said we would contribute 200 ships to your auxiliary fleet," Minho corrected. "We never said that was all we had." On another screen, the Dravix fleet was reacting to the human arrival. Their war master, a creature named Cruel, was broadcasting on all channels. "Unknown species, you have entered a combat zone. Withdraw immediately or be destroyed." Daehyun smiled, but it was not a friendly expression. "Open a response channel. All frequencies. I want everyone to hear this." When the channel opened, Daehyun stood up. "War Master Cruel of the Dravix Horde. I am Fleet Admiral Daehyun Song of the Earth Defense Force. You have attacked our allies. You have killed billions of innocent people. You have destroyed colonies and enslaved populations. This ends now." Cruel laughed, a sound like grinding metal. "You are the humans. The weak species that hides behind the Council. You have no power here. Leave now and you may survive." "We are done talking," Daehyun said. "All ships execute Protocol Ares. Rules of engagement are weapons free. No Dravix ship leaves this system. No surrender will be accepted." He cut the channel and turned to his tactical officer. "Commander Hyejin, you may begin." Hyejin's fingers moved across her console. Across the human fleet, thousands of weapon systems came online simultaneously. The space around Kelvar lit up with targeting lasers and sensor locks. "Fire," she said simply. The battle began. The humans did not fight like the Council forces did. Council ships moved in formations, firing in coordinated volleys, maintaining defensive positions. Human ships moved like a swarm of predators, each one hunting independently but coordinating with terrifying precision. Wraith-class fighters launched from carrier groups, moving so fast that Dravix gunners could not track them. Lieutenant Sunwoo led his squadron in a dive through the enemy formation, his fingers dancing on the controls. He rolled, spun, and accelerated in patterns that seemed random but were actually calculated to the millisecond by the AI tactical network. "Target locked," his ship's computer announced. "Fire," Sunwoo said, and his weapons tore into a Dravix cruiser's engine section. The ship began to spin out of control. He was already moving to the next target before the first one exploded. Behind him, his squadron mates followed similar attack patterns. 12 fighters took down 6 cruisers in 90 seconds. The Dravix tried to respond, but human pilots moved in 3 dimensions, using every trick and tactic that centuries of atmospheric flight had taught them. The larger human warships deployed weapons the galaxy had never seen. Kinetic impactors accelerated to relativistic speeds, hitting Dravix ships with the force of nuclear weapons. Drone swarms infiltrated enemy vessels, finding critical systems and destroying them from inside. EMP pulses disabled entire sections of the Dravix fleet, leaving them helpless. War Master Cruel watched in growing alarm as his fleet began to fall apart. "How are they doing this? They are a minor species. They should not have this technology." His tactical officer was panicking. "Sir, they are using AI. Their ships are coordinating at a level we cannot match. And their weapons. They are targeting our weak points with impossible accuracy." Cruel slammed his claws on the command console. "All ships, concentrate fire on the human flagship. Kill their commander!" 1,000 Dravix ships turned their weapons toward the Indomitable. Energy beams and missiles filled the space around it. But the human ship did not try to run. Instead, it activated systems that made the Dravix sensors scream warnings. Gravity wells appeared around the Indomitable, bending space itself. The Dravix weapons curved away from their target, pulled off course by gravitational forces that should not exist. Did they just weaponize gravity? Voss said in amazement from his ship. Minho nodded. Gravity well generators. We developed them 50 years ago, but never told anyone. They bend space around our ships, deflecting attacks. The stronger the attack, the more it gets deflected. The Indomitable's own weapons opened fire. Unlike Dravik's energy beams, human weapons were mostly kinetic. Railguns firing solid projectiles at incredible speeds, missiles that could think for themselves, adapting their approach to avoid defenses. And behind it all, the AI tactical network coordinating every shot for maximum effect. A Dravik's dreadnought exploded under concentrated fire, then another, then 3 more in quick succession. Their fleet is breaking, Yijin reported. Enemy ships are attempting to withdraw. Do not let them, Daehyun ordered. I meant what I said. No one leaves. Human ships had already positioned themselves along every escape route. The Dravik's fleet was trapped, surrounded by an enemy that was faster, smarter, and far more ruthless than anything they had faced before. Cruel made a decision. All ships emergency jump. Random coordinates. Scatter. But when his ships tried to open jump points, they found the space around them locked. The human ships were generating interference fields that prevented faster-than-light travel. Impossible, Cruel roared. No species has that technology. We do, Minho said quietly, watching from the Indomitable. We invented it in case we ever needed to trap an enemy fleet. Looks like we needed it. The battle lasted another hour. Every minute, more Dravik ships were destroyed or disabled. The humans fought with a precision and efficiency that terrified even their allies. They knew exactly where to hit, exactly when to fire, exactly how to kill with minimum waste. When it was over, the Dravik's fleet was gone. 5,000 ships reduced to wreckage and prisoners. The humans had lost 37 ships and suffered damage to about 200 more. By any military standard, it was a massacre. Cruel sat in his command chair, his ship crippled and surrounded by human vessels. When the boarding parties came, he expected to be killed immediately. That was what the Draviks would do. Instead, human soldiers secured the ship and treated the wounded. They were professional, efficient, and surprisingly gentle with prisoners. Daehyun appeared on Cruel's screen one last time. War Master, you are now a prisoner of Earth. You will be treated according to the rules of war that humanity follows. You will not be tortured. You will not be executed, but you will face justice for your crimes. Cruel could not understand it. Why? We would kill you if the situation was reversed. Yes, Daehyun agreed, but we are not you. That is the difference. The liberation of the occupied worlds began 3 days after the victory at Kelvar. General Somin Park stood in the command center of the assault carrier Liberator, watching the tactical displays as her forces prepared to drop onto the planet Telvos 4. The Draviks had held this world for 6 months, enslaving the population and strip mining the planet's resources. Ground forces ready? General, her operations officer reported. All dropships are loaded and standing by. Somin studied the planet below. Intelligence reports showed Dravik's fortifications around the major cities, with heavy weapons emplacements and shield generators. The alien defenders had been preparing for a counterattack, but they were expecting council forces with their predictable tactics and limited firepower. They were not expecting humans. Launch the first wave, Somin ordered. All units execute pattern Delta 7. Dropships fell from orbit like falling stars, but they did not head straight for the planet's surface. Instead, they spread out, approaching from dozens of different angles. Some came in high and fast, others low and slow. Some used stealth systems to avoid detection, while others deliberately drew fire to reveal enemy positions. High Arbiter Voss watched from his flagship in orbit. He had insisted on observing the human ground operations, still trying to understand these strange allies who had appeared with such devastating force. Why are they not concentrating their forces? He asked Minho, who stood beside him as a liaison. They are spreading out. It makes them vulnerable. It makes us unpredictable, Minho corrected. The Draviks are expecting a conventional assault. Massed forces hitting fortified positions. They have prepared for that. What they are not prepared for is human infantry tactics. On the ground, Lieutenant Sunwoo's dropship landed in a forest 5 kilometers from the nearest city. His platoon deployed quickly, moving through the trees with practiced efficiency. They were not heading straight for the city. They had a different target. Eyes on the supply depot, Sunwoo reported through his comm. Guards are minimal. They are not expecting an attack from this direction. His platoon moved silently through the underbrush. They had trained for this kind of operation their entire military careers. Fast, quiet, deadly. While the enemy focused on defending their major positions, human forces were already behind their lines, cutting supply routes and destroying infrastructure. In the cities, the real assault began. Human soldiers did not try to take fortified positions head-on. Instead, they used the urban terrain to their advantage. Small squads moved through buildings using walls and rooftops for cover. They struck from unexpected angles, disappeared before the enemy could respond, and struck again from somewhere else. Dr. Yuna watched from the Liberator as her non-lethal weapons were deployed. Gas grenades filled Dravik's bunkers with sleep agents that knocked out defenders without killing them. Sonic weapons made it impossible for enemy soldiers to coordinate or even think straight. Electromagnetic pulses disabled their equipment while leaving civilian infrastructure intact. The Draviks are completely unprepared for this, she noted. They only know how to fight with overwhelming force. They have never faced an enemy that uses precision and psychology. One Dravik's commander, watching his carefully prepared defenses fall apart, sent a desperate message to his superiors. The humans are everywhere and nowhere. They attack from directions that should be impossible. Our sensors cannot track them. Our weapons cannot hit them. They are like ghosts. General Soman smiled when she heard that report. Good, fear is a weapon too. If they are scared, they make mistakes. In one city, a Dravik's garrison held hundreds of alien civilians hostage in a warehouse, threatening to kill them if the humans attacked. It was a common tactic, one that had worked against council forces who would hesitate to risk civilian lives. Lieutenant Sun Wu's platoon received the assignment to deal with it. They did not hesitate. Standard hostage rescue protocol, Sun Wu ordered. Precision entry, no civilian casualties. His soldiers moved into position around the warehouse. Snipers took up positions with clear lines of sight. Breach teams prepared shaped charges that would blow through walls at exact points. Electronic warfare specialists hacked into the building systems to kill the lights on command. 3, 2, 1, execute, Sun Wu counted down. The lights went out. The walls blew open. Flash grenades disoriented the Dravik's guards. In the chaos, human soldiers moved with absolute precision, their night vision equipment letting them see perfectly in the darkness. Each soldier knew exactly where to be, exactly who to shoot, exactly how to avoid hitting civilians. It was over in 40 seconds. Every Dravik's guard was dead or disabled. Not a single civilian was injured. High Arbiter Voss watched the footage in stunned silence. How did they do that? The precision required? The coordination? The speed? We have been doing this for hundreds of years, Minho explained. Urban warfare, hostage rescue, counter-terrorism. We have fought these battles on Earth over and over. We learned from every mistake, refined every tactic. This is what we mean when we say we are good at war. On another world, human forces faced a different challenge. The Draviks had fortified a mountain range with massive artillery pieces that could hit targets in orbit. Council forces had tried to take the position 3 times and failed each time, losing thousands of soldiers. General Soman gave the assignment to a special operations team led by Commander Junho. His team of 30 soldiers approached the mountain under cover of night, using terrain and stealth to avoid detection. They climbed cliffs that the Draviks thought were impassable, moved through areas that were supposed to be too exposed, and infiltrated the base without firing a shot. Once inside, they did not try to fight the thousands of defenders. Instead, they found the ammunition storage facility and the power generators. 20 minutes later, the mountain fortress erupted in a series of controlled explosions. The artillery pieces were destroyed. The defenses collapsed and the garrison surrendered without the humans firing a single shot at them. Humans fight smart, not hard, Junho reported. Why lose soldiers in a direct assault when you can make the enemy's position untenable? Across a dozen worlds, the pattern repeated. Human forces struck fast, struck hard, and disappeared before the enemy could respond. They used every trick they had learned in centuries of warfare. Ambushes, sabotage, psychological operations, combined arms tactics that integrated air support, artillery, and infantry so smoothly it seemed like one organism instead of separate units. But what impressed Voss most was how much the humans cared about civilians. Even while conducting ruthless military operations, they went out of their way to avoid civilian casualties. They brought medical supplies, They set up refugee centers. They treated wounded enemy soldiers alongside liberated civilians. I do not understand, Voss said to Minho. You fight with such violence, but then you show such compassion. How can you be both? Minho was quiet for a moment. Because we learned what happens when soldiers forget that their enemies are people too. We learned what happens when winning becomes more important than staying human. Our history is full of atrocities that happened when we forgot those lessons. So now we fight hard, but we never forget who we are. On the ground, Sunwoo and his platoon were clearing the last Dravik's position in a city when they found something that made them stop. A Dravik soldier, young and scared, was hiding in a basement. He was wounded and could not fight anymore. The soldier raised his hands in surrender, clearly expecting to be killed. Sunwoo lowered his weapon. Medic! We have a wounded enemy here. The human medic came forward and started treating the Dravik soldier's injuries. The alien looked confused, then started to cry. Why? He asked in broken translation. Why help me? We killed your people. We destroyed your allies' worlds, Sunwoo. Looked at the young soldier and saw something familiar, fear, confusion, the horror of realizing the war you thought was glorious was actually just terrible and pointless. Because the war is over for you, Sunwoo said simply. You surrendered. That makes you a prisoner, not an enemy, and we treat our prisoners with dignity. In orbit, the reports came in one after another. City after city liberated, fortress after fortress taken, Dravik's forces surrendering or retreating. The worlds that the Council thought would take months or years to reclaim were being freed in days or weeks. General Soman reviewed the casualty reports. Human losses were remarkably low. They had lost soldiers, yes, but far fewer than anyone had expected. The key was fighting smart, using tactics and technology to win battles before they even started. What is our next target? She asked her staff. Intelligence suggests the Dravik's command center is on their border world of Kraxus. If we take it, we cut off their ability to coordinate their forces across the occupied territories. Soman smiled. Then that is where we go next. Prepare the fleet. High Arbiter Voss watched the humans prepare for their next operation and felt something he had not felt in months. Hope. Real, genuine hope that this war could be won. But he also felt something else. A small amount of fear. Because if humans could fight like this against the Draviks, what would happen if someone ever made humans their enemy? He pushed that thought away. Right now, humans were allies. Right now, they were saving the galaxy. That was enough. The Dravik's homeworld of Draxus Prime hung in space like a scarred sphere of red and brown. Its surface was covered with military installations, weapons platforms, and defensive shields. This was the heart of the Horde, the world from which billions of conquerors had launched to subjugate the galaxy. Fleet Admiral Daehyun Song stood on the bridge of the Indomitable, looking at the planet with calm eyes. Around him, the entire human fleet had gathered. Over 2,000 warships all ready for the final battle. But Daehyun did not want a final battle. He wanted a final solution. Status of their defenses, he asked. Commander Hyejin pulled up the tactical display. Planetary shields at maximum. Orbital weapons platforms active. Ground-based artillery covering all approach vectors. They have fortified every major city. They are ready for us. They are ready for an invasion, Daehyun corrected. Are they ready for what we are actually planning? Hyejin smiled. No, sir. They are not. Captain Minho stood nearby watching the preparations. Next to him, Ambassador Jiwon had come aboard to witness the end of the war. She had spent weeks negotiating with the Galactic Council, preparing them for what came next. The Council is concerned, she said quietly. They fear you will destroy the Dravik's homeworld. They say it would be genocide. We are not going to destroy it, Daehyun replied. We are going to save it. On the planet below, War Master Krul sat in a command bunker deep beneath the surface. He had been released in a prisoner exchange, a gesture of human diplomacy that he still did not understand. Now he was back on his homeworld, preparing for the defense against the species that had destroyed his fleet. The humans are in orbit, his tactical officer reported. Their entire fleet. They are preparing for planetary assault. Krul's claws tapped nervously on his command console. He had seen what human ground forces could do. He had witnessed their tactics, their technology, their terrifying efficiency. If they came down to the surface, Draxus Prime would become a battlefield that would tear the planet apart. Activate all defenses, he ordered. If they want this world, they will have to burn it to take it. But the attack did not come. Instead, every communication system on Draxus Prime suddenly activated. Screens, radios, datapads, everything that could display information suddenly showed the same image. Fleet Admiral Daehyun Song sitting calmly in a simple chair. "People of Draxus Prime," Daehyun said in a voice that was translated into every Dravik's dialect. "My name is Fleet Admiral Daehyun Song of the Earth Defense Force. I am speaking to you today to offer you a choice." Across the planet, billions of Draviks stopped what they were doing to listen. This was unprecedented. The enemy commander was talking to them directly, bypassing their government and military. "For generations, your leaders have told you that conquest is the only way," Daehyun continued. "They have sent your children to die in wars of aggression. They have taken resources from conquered worlds while your own people lived in poverty. They have ruled through fear and violence." Krul smashed his fist on the console. "Cut the transmission. Block him." "We cannot, sir," his communications officer said helplessly. "They have control of every broadcast system. We cannot shut them down." Daehyun kept talking. "I am not here to conquer you. I am here to free you, but I need your help to do it. In 1 hour, I am going to disable your planetary shields and your weapons platforms. Your military leaders will tell you to fight. They will tell you that humans will kill you all if you surrender." He leaned forward, his eyes serious. "That is a lie. We do not kill civilians. We do not destroy worlds. We fight soldiers who choose to fight, and we protect everyone else. But you need to make a choice. In 1 hour, you can stand with your military leaders and watch your world burn. Or you can stand down, let us land, and help us build something better." The transmission ended. Across Draxus Prime, confusion reigned. Families argued. Soldiers questioned their orders. Politicians panicked. For the first time in Dravik's history, ordinary people were being asked to choose their own fate. Krul knew he had to act fast. "All units prepare for combat. Anyone who suggests surrender will be executed for treason." But it was too late. The humans had planted a seed of doubt, and doubt was spreading faster than any military order could stop it. Exactly 1 hour later, human ships began their attack. But it was not the devastating bombardment that everyone expected. Instead, precision strikes took out shield generators and weapons platforms with surgical accuracy. No civilian infrastructure was touched. No cities were hit. Just military targets destroyed so quickly and efficiently that there was no time to respond. In 30 minutes, Draxus Prime's defenses were gone. Then the human ship stopped firing. Daehyun appeared on the broadcasts again. "Your military can no longer protect you. Your shields are down. Your weapons are disabled. If I wanted to destroy this planet, I could do it right now. But I do not want to. I am giving you one more chance. Stand down. Let us land. Let us help you." In the command bunker, Krul looked at his officers. He saw fear in their eyes. Fear of the humans, yes, but also fear of what would happen if they kept fighting. "We fight," Krul said, but his voice lacked conviction. His second-in-command, a veteran warrior named Thelox, stood up. "No, we do not. War Master, I have followed you for 20 years. I have fought in 100 battles. But this war is lost. If we keep fighting, we will die, all of us. And for what, pride? For the Horde." Krul roared. "The Horde is broken," Thelox said quietly. "It has been broken since Kelvar. We lost 5,000 ships in one battle. We have lost dozens of worlds in 3 months. The humans have beaten us in every engagement. It is over." Around the bunker, other officers were nodding. Krul looked at them and realized the truth. His warriors did not want to die for a lost cause. "What would you have me do?" Krul asked, his voice broken. "Surrender? Beg for mercy from these humans?" "Yes," Thelox said simply. "Because they will give it. I was a prisoner on their ships, Krul. I saw how they treated us. They gave us food, medical care, respect. They are not like us. They do not take pleasure in suffering. If we surrender, they will let us live." Krul sat heavily in his command chair. Everything he believed, everything he had fought for his entire life was crumbling around him. But he was not a fool. He knew when a battle was truly lost. "Send a message to the human fleet," he said finally. Tell them we surrender." On the Indomitable, the message was received with quiet satisfaction. Daehyun looked at Minho and nodded. "Begin landing operations. Medical teams first, then peacekeepers. Set up relief stations in every major city. And find their leaders. We need to start negotiations." Within hours, human ships were landing on Draxus Prime, but they were not warships. They were transports carrying food, medical supplies, and engineers. Human soldiers deployed not to conquer but to help. Dr. Yuna led teams of medics who set up hospitals to treat wounded Dravik soldiers and civilians. General Soman organized the distribution of supplies to areas that had been suffering from shortages caused by their own governments, focus on military spending. Lieutenant Sunwoo walked through a Dravik's city and saw children who looked hungry and scared. He opened his ration pack and gave them food. Other soldiers did the same. Soon, human troops were surrounded by Dravik civilians who had never met an enemy soldier who did not want to hurt them. In the capital city, Krul met with Daehyun and Minho in a formal surrender ceremony. The Dravik's war master expected to be humiliated, perhaps executed as an example. Instead, Daehyun offered him a chair. "War Master Krul," Daehyun said, "you are responsible for the deaths of billions. You have committed war crimes that cannot be ignored. You will face trial, and you will be held accountable." Krul nodded, accepting his fate. "But," Daehyun continued, "you also made the choice to surrender when you could have fought to the bitter end. You chose to save lives instead of wasting them on pointless resistance. That matters." "What will happen to my people?" Krul asked. "That depends on them," Minho replied. "We are not here to enslave the Draviks or destroy your culture. We are here to stop the violence. If your people want peace, we will help them build it. If they want to join the galactic community as equals, we will support that." Krul looked at them with confusion. "Why, we are your enemies. We tried to conquer the galaxy. We killed your allies. Because we learned something from our own history," Daehyun said. "Punishing an entire species for the actions of their leaders only creates more hatred, more violence, more war. We tried that approach on Earth. It never worked. What works is showing people there is a better way." 3 months later, Ambassador Jiwon stood in the Galactic Council chamber once again. But this time, the atmosphere was completely different. Species that had ignored Earth before now watched her with respect and some amount of fear. High Arbiter Voss stood next to her as she addressed the council. "The war is over," Jiwon announced. "The Dravik's horde has surrendered. Their military has been dismantled. Their leaders are facing trial for war crimes. The occupied worlds have been liberated." She paused, looking around the chamber. "Earth accomplished this in 4 months. We did it with minimal casualties to our own forces and to civilians. We did it because you asked for our help. But we cannot do it again, not like this." Voss stepped forward. "Ambassador Lee is correct. The Council was unprepared for the Dravik's threat. We were complacent, relying on old strategies and old technologies. Earth showed us what a modern military looks like, what effectiveness and efficiency look like. We must adapt," Jiwon continued. "Earth proposes the creation of a unified defense force. We will train your soldiers. We will share our tactics and technology. We will help you build a military that can protect the galaxy from future threats. But in exchange, we ask for one thing. What is that?" one of the council members asked. "Trust," Jiwon said simply. "Trust that we are not your enemy. Trust that our strength is meant to protect, not to conquer. Trust that when we warn you about something, you listen." The vote was unanimous. The Unified Defense Force was approved. On Earth, General Soman began the process of transitioning the Ghost fleets back to standby status. Most of the warships would return to their hidden positions, ready if needed but not actively deployed. Lieutenant Sunwoo was assigned as a training instructor, teaching alien pilots how to fly with human tactics. He found it rewarding seeing other species learn and adapt. Fleet Admiral Daehyun retired, passing command to a younger generation. He had done what he set out to do. He had proven that Earth could defend itself and its allies. Now it was time to let others carry that responsibility. Captain Minho remained as the military liaison to the Council, working with Voss and others to build the new defense force. It was slow work, teaching species who had lived one way for thousands of years to think differently. But it was important work, and Ambassador Jiwon continued to represent Earth in the Council, always reminding them of the balance between strength and restraint, between the capacity for violence and the choice of peace. One evening, Minho stood in an observation deck looking out at the stars. Voss joined him. "Do you think they will ever stop being afraid of us?" Voss asked. Minho thought about it. "Maybe not completely, but fear can be healthy if it comes with respect. They fear what we could do, but they trust what we choose to do. That is enough." "Your species is remarkable," Voss said. "You are capable of such destruction, yet you choose mercy. You are warriors, yet you value peace. How do you maintain that balance? We remember, Minho said simply. We remember every war we fought on Earth, every mistake we made, every time we let hatred guide us instead of wisdom. We remember and we choose to be better. He looked at Voss. That is the real lesson Earth taught the galaxy, not how to fight, but why to fight and when to stop. Voss nodded slowly, understanding. Across the galaxy, humanity's role had changed forever. They were no longer the minor species that others dismissed. They were no longer the soft pacifists that others mocked. They were the species that had shown the galaxy what true strength looked like, and in doing so, they had shown that the greatest power was not the ability to destroy but the wisdom to choose not to.